Do you enjoy talking with strangers?
I'm generally quite reserved with people I don't know, preferring meaningful conversations over small talk. However, I've noticed that brief exchanges with strangers during travel often lead to fascinating cultural insights and unexpected friendships.
Who did you talk to most recently?
Just this morning, I had a lengthy video call with my university professor discussing my research paper. We spoke about methodology improvements and upcoming deadlines, which was both productive and reassuring.
Has your way of talking changed over time?
Definitely. As a child, I was extremely shy, but university presentations and part-time customer service work forced me to become more articulate and confident in expressing my thoughts clearly.
Do you prefer talking on the phone or face-to-face?
Face-to-face communication wins for me because I value nonverbal cues like facial expressions and gestures that get lost in phone conversations, though video calls are a decent compromise when in-person isn't possible.
Are there topics you avoid talking about?
I tend to steer clear of controversial subjects like politics or religion with acquaintances, as these discussions often create unnecessary tension unless all parties are open to respectful debate. One of the most memorable and impressive conversations I've ever had was with my university professor, Dr. Reynolds, during my final year of undergraduate studies. It took place last spring in her office after I had presented a research proposal that received mixed feedback from classmates. The discussion lasted nearly an hour, but its impact has stayed with me far beyond that single afternoon. I had approached Dr. Reynolds during her office hours, hoping for brief clarification on some critical comments about my research methodology. What unfolded instead was a profound dialogue about intellectual curiosity and academic resilience. We discussed the flaws in my initial approach, primarily my over-reliance on quantitative data without proper consideration of qualitative context. But the conversation quickly expanded beyond technical corrections. Dr. Reynolds shared her own graduate school experiences with failed hypotheses and how those setbacks actually shaped her most cited papers. She drew parallels between my project's challenges and current debates in our field about balancing empirical evidence with human narratives. What made this talk truly extraordinary was how Dr. Reynolds transformed what could have been a routine advising session into a masterclass in scholarly thinking. Rather than simply listing corrections, she asked probing questions that helped me recognize my own biases in research design. I remember her sliding a marked-up copy of my proposal across her desk, not with red pen corrections, but with philosophical questions written in the margins like, "What story are the numbers not telling?" and "Whose perspective is absent here?" The physical setting added gravity to our exchange. Her book-lined office with daylight fading through half-drawn blinds created an atmosphere of quiet intensity where every word carried weight. The content itself was impressive for its intellectual depth, but the talk's lasting value came from its emotional resonance. At a moment when I doubted my academic capabilities, Dr. Reynolds reframed my perceived failures as necessary steps in developing a researcher's mindset. She didn't just critique my work. She modeled how to interrogate ideas with both rigor and wonder. Her ability to connect technical feedback with broader lessons about perseverance and intellectual humility demonstrated a teaching philosophy that transcended our specific subject matter. What cemented this as an extraordinary talk was its transformative effect on my subsequent work. The insights from that conversation fundamentally changed how I approach research problems. I now automatically consider whose voices might be missing from datasets and what assumptions require interrogation before drawing conclusions. Months later, when my revised thesis won a departmental award, I included in my acknowledgments that pivotal discussion with Dr. Reynolds. More than any lecture or textbook, that office hours talk exemplified how meaningful academic mentorship can be when a professor invests not just in a student's project, but in their development as a thinker. The combination of professional guidance, personal encouragement, and intellectual challenge made it the most impressive conversation of my academic journey, one that continues to influence how I engage with complex ideas and my own limitations.
Some people argue that face-to-face conversations are becoming less common in modern society. Do you agree?
While digital communication has undoubtedly transformed how we interact, I believe face-to-face conversations remain fundamentally important, though their nature is evolving. The convenience of messaging apps and social media has reduced the frequency of in-person meetings for casual matters, yet significant discussions still predominantly occur face-to-face. In professional settings, crucial negotiations or sensitive HR matters typically require physical presence to interpret tone and body language accurately. Similarly, personal milestones like marriage proposals or family conflicts demand the emotional authenticity that only in-person interaction provides. However, the pandemic accelerated hybrid communication models where important discussions sometimes occur via video call. What's declining isn't face-to-face conversation itself, but rather its monopoly as the sole format for meaningful discussion. Younger generations are becoming adept at switching between digital and physical communication depending on context, sending quick updates via text, but reserving voice calls or meetings for complex matters. This represents not the death of face-to-face conversation, but its repositioning as a deliberate choice rather than a default.
How important are discussion skills in professional life?
Exceptional discussion skills are arguably the most critical professional competency across nearly all industries and career levels. The ability to articulate ideas clearly, actively listen, and navigate differing viewpoints directly impacts career progression and organizational success. In leadership roles, effective discussion skills enable managers to align teams, resolve conflicts, and inspire action through persuasive communication. For junior employees, strong discussion abilities accelerate onboarding and demonstrate leadership potential during meetings. The modern workplace particularly values professionals who can bridge communication gaps between technical and non-technical stakeholders, translating complex concepts into accessible language. Moreover, as remote work becomes prevalent, the skill of maintaining engagement and clarity in virtual discussions has become indispensable. Professionals who master both the substance and style of discussions, knowing when to speak assertively versus when to facilitate others' input, often advance faster because they create value beyond their technical skills. Even in highly technical fields, the most successful experts are those who can discuss their work compellingly with diverse audiences.
Do you think educational institutions teach discussion skills effectively?
While most educational systems recognize the importance of discussion skills, their teaching methods often lack the practical, immersive training students truly need. Traditional classroom discussions frequently reward the loudest voices rather than teaching the nuanced skills of active listening, building on others' points, or gracefully disagreeing. Many institutions still emphasize individual achievement through exams and solo presentations, missing opportunities to cultivate collaborative discussion competencies. However, progressive educators are implementing promising innovations like Harkness discussions where students lead conversations or debate formats that require switching perspectives. The most effective programs integrate discussion practice across subjects, from science seminars analyzing research to literature circles interpreting texts. What's often missing is explicit instruction in the micro skills of discussion: how to ask probing questions, paraphrase for understanding, or manage conversational dynamics. Universities increasingly address this through dedicated communication courses, but these skills should be nurtured much earlier. The gap is particularly evident in cultures that traditionally prioritize teacher-led instruction over student dialogue. Ultimately, educational institutions are improving but still undervalue discussion as both a learning tool and an essential life skill.
Why do some people find group discussions challenging?
Several interrelated factors make group discussions daunting for many individuals, often stemming from psychological, social, and educational influences. For some, anxiety about being judged or saying something wrong creates a mental barrier that disrupts their ability to articulate thoughts fluidly. This is particularly common among those who grew up in educational environments that punished mistakes rather than viewing them as learning opportunities. Others struggle with the cognitive load of simultaneously processing multiple speakers' ideas while formulating their own response, especially in fast-paced debates. Cultural background significantly impacts comfort levels too. Individuals from collectivist societies emphasizing harmony may find Western-style adversarial discussions uncomfortable. Additionally, neurodivergent individuals might face sensory challenges in noisy group settings or need more time to process information before responding. Even confident speakers can be thrown off by unbalanced group dynamics, where dominant personalities monopolize conversations or when discussions lack clear structure. Underlying many of these challenges is a fundamental fear of social rejection, as group discussions inherently involve navigating complex interpersonal dynamics while performing intellectually. Recognizing these varied barriers is the first step in creating more inclusive discussion environments.
How might technology change the way we discuss ideas in the future?
Emerging technologies are poised to fundamentally transform discussion dynamics through both augmentation and disruption of traditional communication patterns. AI-powered real-time transcription and translation tools will enable seamless multilingual discussions, breaking down language barriers, but potentially reducing motivation to learn other languages. Virtual reality platforms may recreate the physical presence of in-person discussions through avatars and spatial audio, though this risks creating a new digital divide for those lacking access to advanced hardware. More concerningly, algorithms that curate discussion groups based on similarity rather than diversity of thought could inadvertently create echo chambers, while sentiment analysis tools might discourage uncomfortable but necessary conversations by flagging contentious exchanges. On the positive side, AI assistants could help balance participation by subtly prompting quieter members to contribute or visualizing discussion flow patterns to improve facilitation. The rise of asynchronous video discussions allows for more reflective, less reactive conversations, though at the cost of spontaneous interplay. Perhaps most significantly, brain-computer interfaces currently in development may eventually enable direct thought sharing, bypassing language altogether, a revolutionary shift that would redefine the very nature of discussion. These technologies will demand new etiquette rules and critical discussion skills to navigate their ethical implications and maintain authentic human connection amidst digital mediation.